Hi guys, I'm Steph and thank you for checking out my channel today. For those of you who aren't familiar with my first impression foundations, I don't use any primer so it won't mess with the foundation, and I also don't powder it because I just want to see how the foundation lasts on its own, and then I will wear it throughout the day and give you a check-in at the end of the day and show you how it wore. And just so you know, because obviously people do wear primers and people do wear powders, I then go on to test the foundations just in my normal everyday life with different primers, with different powders to see how they wear. And I am planning on doing, once I've tested 10 foundations, kind of doing a foundation roundup for the last 10 foundations and kind of being like, now that I've had more time to wear them with different primers, different powders, with different types of makeup and all of that, how do I think of them now? Like, what are my true thoughts on them now that they're tried and tested? So even though this is just a first impression, you can expect to get a more in-depth and just better overall opinion of my thoughts on these foundations at a later time. So make sure you subscribe down below so you are updated when I post that video, as well as when I post other first impression foundation Friday videos. So let's get into this one. As you can see from the title, I am testing out the Estee Lauder Double Wear Stay in Place makeup. It looks like this. It is a cult classic. I am so excited to finally be testing it out. I actually hauled it in my Sephora haul, which I will link down below, along with the Hourglass Vanish Stick foundation, which I've already done an impression on, so I will link that down below too if you're interested. But it has been so hard for me to get an opportunity to film these videos because I am now working 14-hour days, and then by the time I leave and by the time I come home, it's more like 16 hours, and I just don't think that is a realistic time frame for most people to be wearing makeup that long, and I don't want to do my impressions on those days. So that only really leaves me the weekend to test out foundations, and I've just been so crazy busy I haven't had the opportunity to, but I really want to try to kind of figure out my weekend schedules better so that I am able to test out these foundations. So I'm going to read the claims for you on my phone. So for those of you who don't know, it is like a huge cult classic. It is a medium to full coverage foundation, and it has a matte finish. And from the Estee Lauder website, they have 42 shades, but at the Sephora in Canada, they only have 36. So I think your shade range really depends on where you are, but I think you can buy hopefully directly from the site, and you can have more of that shade range option. The shade I am testing out is 1C1 Cool Bone, which is the fair shade you can get in Canada, but there is a fair shade 1C0 Shell. So a fair shade does exist, but this was all that was available to me in Canada. But just so you know, there are more shades, they're just not all necessarily at Sephora. So from the Estee Lauder website, they say it's a medium to full coverage foundation with a matte finish and that it is oil free. They also say it is oil controlling, kind of makes sense if it's matte. It's dermatologist tested, so it's non-comedogenic, so it won't clog your pores, which is really great to hear, because if you have oily skin, like I have acne-prone skin, I definitely do not want anything that's going to clog my pores, so it's great that it doesn't do that. And they claim that it is fragrance free. Now I've gone ahead and smelt it, because as soon as something says it's fragrance free, you have to smell it. And they haven't added a fragrance to it, but it definitely does have a scent. And I was like, this smells really familiar, and it smells exactly like my Clinique foundations, which I am trying to pan in my project. Pan finished 18 in 2018, so I'm like very familiar with the scent of those, and it smells exactly like that. And I looked it up. It makes a lot of sense because Clinique is part of the Estee Lauder family. The brand Estee Lauder is like the parent company to Clinique, so it makes sense that they smell the same. So in case you're wondering what it smells like, if you have a Clinique foundation, it smells exactly like that. So now to get into the actual product. So it's very nice glass, frosted bottle. You do get 1 fluid ounce in here, which is very standard. The only thing I think the major drawback for this foundation is that it is just a twist off top as such. You don't have a pump to it, which is kind of frustrating because it is not a cheap foundation in Canada. It's $48, and to not have a pump with it is kind of like, I don't know why they just don't make all foundations with the pump, but whatever. I understand if it's like a cheaper foundation, you're trying to save on cost, but if you're paying $48, like, I expect a pump. But it doesn't. I've just moisturized my skin, so let's get into the application. I will zoom you guys a little bit closer. Typically when I test out foundations, I do one side with a brush and one side with a sponge, but my foundation brush is like super duper dirty, so I just cleaned it, but it's like soaking wet because it's a paddle brush. So it's like super densely packed and probably won't be dry for like 2 days. And as I said, I'm having trouble finding time to film these videos, so I just thought I was going to use a sponge all over my face versus using another type of brush that I wouldn't typically use for foundation, because I don't think that would be fair to this foundation. And given the way I've seen reviews on this foundation, seeing people use it in the past, I do think I would mostly like it with a sponge, but because I am going to be doing an update at a later time, I will definitely have tried it without with a brush and given you my thoughts on it then. But for this, it'll just be a sponge. And that being said, the sponge I am using is the Eco Tools sponge, and this is actually the mini one. When you buy the Eco Tools one, or at least when I did, it comes in a pack with the regular size one and the mini. So let's dot it on and see what the color match is like. I did get this color matched in store, so I am expecting it to be a good match, but we shall see. It's a lot thicker than I anticipated, so that is kind of surprising because it is called liquid makeup. I don't know, I just expect liquids to be thinner, but then I think about how it is a matte medium to full coverage foundation, and the fact that it is a bit of a thicker liquid makes a lot of sense. So I'm really excited to be testing out a super full coverage foundation because I feel like my skin has been very red recently. I haven't really found anything to cover up my acne. So here you are with half my face done. You can like really see it down the center. It has pretty decent coverage. I don't know if I would say full. This seems like a very strong medium or light full coverage because I can still see this red spot peeking through. As for the color match, it does seem pretty decent. In person, it is coming off a little bit darker than I would like, but they say that this doesn't change color or oxidize. That's another one of their claims, so hopefully that is true. I definitely do think like you can see that the coverage is there. It does seem quite luminous almost, which is surprising because it was a matte finish. So maybe once it has a bit of time to dry down, it will be a bit matte, but as of right now, it is much more luminous than I anticipated. So I will do the other side and let you guys know. So here's one full layer all over my face, and I'm not sure if you can see, but I still see a little bit of my acne coming through here and a pimple coming through here. So I'm going to try to layer it up in those spots to see if it can build up to an even fuller coverage. Okay, so I went in with the second layer here and even here, and I am so impressed. I've never really found anything that's I'm so excited I can't even speak. I've never really been able to find anything that's been able to really cover up that region. It's made it look better, but it hasn't been like covered fully. And even though it's not flawless because it is textured, and unfortunately like a foundation can't get rid of texture, it can only get rid of like the unevenness of the skin and cover up those pimples, but like you can't tell it's there. I'm just so excited that I found something that is actually full coverage enough to get rid of this, because I feel like it has been so persistent. I haven't been able to find anything to cover it up, so I am super excited about that. I will say the foundation feels kind of heavy. I can really feel it sitting on my skin, so that kind of makes me anxious because it claims to be a long wear foundation. You can wear it up to 24 hours, and like I've just put it on and it already feels so heavy. I can't imagine how it would feel at the end of the day. I will soon find out by the end of this day, but still it feels quite heavy, so that has me a little worried. But the coverage, like, I'm really excited. So I'm now going to put on concealer and the rest of my makeup so we can see how it kind of interacts with those things, and I will let you guys know. So I'm now back having done my makeup, and I am so impressed with how everything went on. Nothing went on patchy or weird or like pulled at all. And like having not powdered, I'm always like a little bit hesitant about applying like bronzer and blush and that type of thing, and I think everything went on like so seamlessly. Like I really like how this look turned out. One thing I do have to mention is I think the foundation dries down rather fast. So when I applied it, obviously I did one side and then the other, and I think going forward that is how I would do it, because I would be worried that if I dotted my whole face and then went to blend it out, by the time I got to the other side or the other half of my face, that it would just be all dried down. But I think everything went on top of it, and so that being said, like it does dry down, so I did feel like on my face like it wasn't tacky at all. Like maybe a little in my chin, especially like here where like kind of divots, but like on my cheeks I didn't find it to be tacky at all, and like I found that the powder products went on beautifully on top of it. I would say, like, again, now that I've been wearing it for a little bit, it doesn't feel as heavy, but I do think it's definitely noticeable to me that I am wearing makeup on my face. I mean, not just from looking, but like the feel of it. Like, there's a lot of times where I wear makeup and it doesn't feel like I'm wearing makeup, but like right now it feels like I'm wearing makeup, but like, oh, it's worth it for that coverage. I am really loving it. The only thing I would say is smile lines. I do feel like it is creasing into them a little bit, or it definitely will be really bad by the end of the day. And because the foundation does feel a bit thicker, I do think in the future I might try to shear it out with some type of oil, maybe do like a drop of oil to however much foundation I did use, so that it kind of balances it out a little bit more. But I will now be wearing this for the rest of the day, and I will check in with you at the end, kind of review everything and let you know my thoughts. So it is now the end of the day, and I have been wearing this makeup for about 6 or 7 hours. I kind of lost track of when I applied it, but it is the end of the day, and it is kind of a shorter day than I would usually wear makeup, but I still thought it was a long enough time to kind of see how it does wear a little bit and have a better sense of it and be able to give you my thoughts on it. But I'll definitely be putting it through a 14-hour workday, so when I do that roundup of my first impression foundation Fridays, you'll be able to hear my thoughts on it in regards to wearing it for a longer period of time. But for now, I'm not as oily as I used to be. That's kind of something my skin is going through at the moment, so oil seeping through wasn't a major concern for me, especially because this is a oil-free foundation and it claims to be mattifying and controlling oil. But as you can see here, like, I am getting a tinge oily right in the middle and a little bit on my chin. But considering I didn't powder, I don't think it's like crazy oily, and it looks healthy. But I do kind of wonder, like, this is only 7 hours in, let's say, and so if I were to be going a full day, what would it be looking like? And the thing is, I didn't powder, and I feel like powdering is kind of what makes your makeup look cakey, and because I didn't powder, I didn't set it. So I don't know if it's because I also didn't kind of spray it down afterwards, but I feel like it looks very almost thick and obvious on the skin. Like, I'm not sure if you guys can tell, but when I look in the mirror, I really feel like I notice the makeup on my face. And in terms of that, I also feel like the coverage here has kind of gone down a little bit, and like my acne is kind of being more noticeable. Obviously, it is still better coverage than had I had nothing, and it is better coverage than a lot of my foundations would be at this point in the day, but I don't feel like that full coverage really lasted throughout the day, which is a little disappointing. I don't know if you guys can see it. Some of you might be like, I'm being too picky, but for me, I just feel like a little bit of that redness is starting to come through, which is frustrating because I was kind of hoping for full coverage all day, not just when I applied it. But I would say I feel like everything else really lasted on top of it. Like, my blush is still there, like my highlight is still really there, kind of the best I've ever seen my highlight last throughout the day. So I am really impressed with not only the staying power of the foundation, but the staying power it has on my other makeup products, which I think is really great. It's hard to say that the long lasting of the makeup is there because I haven't worn it the full day, but I do agree with the fact that it is mattifying. Even though a little bit of my oil is coming through, I don't think anything is 100% ever going to stop that, and I think this is a very good mattifying foundation, and I really like it. I'm excited to wear it for longer periods of time, see how it stands up. I'm excited to wear it with powder, though honestly I don't really feel like it needed it. It didn't feel like it needed to be set, so that could be good if there's something I want to skip from my routine. Overall, I really like it. The one drawback I do think is the heaviness, and the heaviness, how it feels on the skin and how it looks on the skin, and it's settling a little bit into my smile lines. Please let me know if you've tried this foundation and your thoughts on it. I'm really excited to wear it more and see what comes of it, but out of all the ones I've tried, this has been one of my favorites thus far, so I'm really excited about it. I hope you guys are having a great day wherever you are. I just like hit myself. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to subscribe if you're interested in seeing more of these foundation videos or anything else that I post. I hope you have a great day. Bye.